All right. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Omari Salisbury, soon to be joined by my amazing co-host, Trey Holiday. Until then, though, I'm riding solo at the moment. Want to welcome you guys back. It's Tuesday, the last Tuesday of the year. Man, we're almost out of here into 2021, which can't seem to come fast enough. Talking about a few things today. Local headlines, which we'll go through. A real interesting story down in Fife, where there's a housing activist group that took over a motel. They just checked in and decided not to check out. And we're also spotlighting today the Facts newspaper, the Facts newspaper, its legacy, also the legacy of Mr. Fitzgerald Beaver. So we're going to be talking about that as well. Real excited for that. Before we get everything going, though, it's Kwanzaa, and today, Ujamaa. That's how you say it over there, too, Swahili. Ujamaa. Cooperative economics. So this is cooperative economics here. And to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. Ujamaa. So I think that like people really see that. It's crazy because COVID, especially in our community, things have become way more intentional. And before COVID, not so much, but there's so much intentionality in shopping within the community, support Black business, so supporting each other through business and through economics. So today is Ujamaa, and that's for Kwanzaa. We'll continue with that. When Trey gets here, we'll get her take on that as well. Also, let me scroll down here and find it. We got to say happy birthday. Happy birthday to Onika Jamila. Onika has been part of the Converge crew from way back. She's done a lot of different stuff from styling. And actually, I got a whole wardrobe. She'd be so mad at me. Onika be hot because she put together a whole wardrobe for me for the show. But every day I'm just in something Converge. Like, oh, when you going to wear the stuff? Set design, some other stuff like that. So a very happy birthday to you, Onika. Fly, be unique. Enjoy your day. Another trip around the sun. So appreciate you. One other thing here is from our Twitter. Dionne Warwick. She's like, everybody's on Dionne Warwick's tweets these days. You feel me? And Dionne Warwick tweeted, okay, sending me your favorite BIPOC businesses. I'll come back to share more in just a little bit. And here we are. We're a Black-owned social media company uplifting our stories. That's right. Don't forget it. Make sure you guys can follow us on Twitter or across all social media platforms at WW Converge. Check it out. Every experience is a little bit different. Our Twitter is more like news. Instagram, you'll find a lot of the stories, the video stories that you see here on air. And different video segments, also great photos from like Jake Gravbrot and Eric Calligraphy. Our Facebook is more storytelling. And so we're on Twitch. Aren't we on Twitch, are you? Yes. We're on Twitch too.
We're streaming live there right now.
Oh, live there. What's up to everybody out there on Twitch? Appreciate you. Tell a Twitch friend. Before we go into the news, I want to remind everybody, man, tag, share the stream, share with a friend, share with somebody who you feel can really benefit from what we're doing right here in trying to get news out or culturally relevant news from us to you. All of that being said, we're going to jump in right here. This was Saturday night, and unfortunately, I got to tell people there's some cursing in this video. There's some racial epitaphs being thrown. This is a driver down there in South Jackson, about 3 blocks actually from where we're at. The driver of this truck here, there was protesters who were protesting there in the street. I believe they had the street blocked. And the guy in the truck goes on like this racial tyrant. And there's a bunch of different videos out there. This came from Chris Rojas. We usually don't play other people's videos, but Chris is one of our guys. And this is just a snippet of the interaction down there on South Jackson Street.
I've been a bystander on the sidewalk. This individual attempted to run people over with his vehicle.
We'll figure it out.
I'm willing to give eyewitness testimony to that.
We'll figure it out.
Fuck you, nigga! Where the fuck are you gonna go, asshole?
Watch your motherfucking ass! Get the fuck out! Get the fuck out! Get the.
Yep. That was downtown. Like I said, looks like it was 5th and Jackson right there. See the driver. I mean, it was lots of like racial comments, and I don't know. I wasn't there, so we don't comment too much on video that like we weren't there. We don't shoot. We don't play a lot of other video from other people and things like that. But I mean, it's crazy out there. I think Chris Rojas, somebody has a longer form video of the whole protest or demonstration that was down there. But man, we talk about what's going on here in Seattle, and we see it, and it plays itself out right there on video for everybody to see. It's a lot of what happens here in this city, and we've seen actually the sort of rise in hate crimes, and that's what they've been talking about, and just in a rise in just actual we'll see what happens with that. And the SPD, I don't know if there's any kind of follow-up, or if they're saying of any kind of crime or whatever was committed or not, or whatever. We heard the person there in the video saying like, hey, I can be an eyewitness if you need, or whatever. So we'll follow up with it, but just thought that I would share. That actually came out on Saturday. It's been out here on social media for a few days, but wanted to share that with the audience as to what's happening. And yeah, please believe people are still out here in the streets, as you see. Something big is that Charleena Lyles, say her name, Charleena Lyles. So the Court of Appeals, it's taken a year for them to get a date, but on January 7th, the Court of Appeals is going to hear the case on Charleena Lyles. Just going to hear the case on Charleena Lyles. And so this is going to be January 7th. And actually you're going to be able to listen in and hear it and some of everything else. But it's been a year. You're fine. It's been a year since they filed this appeal. And basically they're filing the appeal. What's up, Bay Holiday?
Hi.
How are you? They're filing the appeal because in the original case, the wrongful death case around Charleena Lyles, the first judge threw the case out and didn't allow the Lyles family the expert witness. And so their lawyers are appealing now to the State Court of Appeals, and the State Court of Appeals on January 7th. And I guess people are going to be able to listen in January 7th. They're going to hear the appeal from Charleena Lyles family.
This is what I'm talking about, another step toward the right answers for a family right here that has been seeking answers. When we talk about these cases, honestly, there are people that are still just lost a loved one and are wanting to understand how that occurred. And I love that it's going to be open to the public so we can hear this process, because again, a lot of the times this is outside of our purview.
Charleena Lyles, we'll say her name again.
Yes.
There's still not, hasn't even been an inquest. I mean, let's start there. There's yet to be an inquest. We followed that up too. We talked to King County Executive Constantine. That was our very first time. Our very first interview with the executive was about this issue with Charleena Lyles and the inquest. Now, I know this past election, they changed some rules around inquest and the process and everything else. I don't know how that's going to impact the inquest around Charleena Lyles. And we'll reach out to Katrina, to her cousin, and see what's going on with that. But, the wheels are still turning here. And so, January 7th is the day in court.
One thing I really want to say about this a bit is that it is a great opportunity for community media to continue to follow these cases. One of the things that ends up happening most of the times, is major media. They have that moment where they capture the story when things go down. They may have some type of follow-up, maybe if something else tremendous happens, but us being able to stay on top of these stories and understand each incremental thing that is happening to move towards an answer and to move towards real justice. That's why you got to love community media, because it's really doing it in a way that no other media outlet can.
All right. So you're here now.
Yeah.
So I told the audience that I was going to save this for you, and we would bring it back up. So today, Ujamaa, cooperative economics, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. It sounds like it's right up your alley.
Absolutely. And I was actually in a meeting this morning about just that. How do you bring community members and all of the work that's being done in terms of a lot of this research? That is what's going to inform a lot of that cooperative economics right there. Because again, when we talk about funneling resources into communities that have disproportionately been under-resourced, how do we do that in a way that really brings about the voices of all that are impacted? So that's what it's all about, man. Ujamaa all the way today. I got my Kwanzaa on, my Canara Park kids, sweatshirt. I'm ready, man.
You rock it. I was just, I've got to throw this back up here because so she can hear it from you. Happy birthday to Onika.
Oh, yes, my Capricorn sister. Happy birthday. You know what? We talked about it. I mean, honestly, you really are surrounded by some Capricorn queens, oh, you know what I'm saying?
Man, who runs the world? people understand it's like really like Converge is a majority female crew. If you bring it every, you got Besa, you got Julia Jesse, you got yourself, you got Onika, you got Oya, you got Nikki, and it's just like me, Bobby, Jake, and Eric. You see what I'm saying? So this is like you guys are running things around here.
Women Capricorns, you're surrounded.
The
Yes.
women, and you know my mama a Capricorn too.
Oh my word!
Her birthday is one day before Oya's birthday.
Oh my gosh! See, that's all that good love, man. Capricorns work hard. I'm telling you, and I see it in every one of us. So you're welcome.
Okay, I'll take that. All right, moving along here in South Seattle Emerald, our partners at the Emerald, Seattle Public Library offers free printing, job search assistance, and online tutoring during pandemic. It says here, Trey Holiday, while branches remain closed during the pandemic, Seattle Public Libraries will now offer free printing of digital documents for curbside pickup at 8 library branches throughout the city. It's made possible by a grant from the Seattle Public Library Foundation. The program allows patrons to submit and pick up 10 pages of black and white printing per day. Documents can also be sent to them by email, web, or mobile device. People can read more about that at the South Seattle Emerald. It's a nice program, huh?
No, it really is, because just the other day I was like, man, I couldn't make it to the office to print. And I was like, that's what you have the libraries for. The libraries were good for that. Another social service, right? When we talk about things that are available to the public for free. And honestly, they have upped their services. I know the King County Library System now has faxing and all of this scanning. They have new scanners that they did in 2019. So again, I was just thinking about that great program. I'm glad that there's at least 8 locations open.
All right. So this story developing down there in this is Pierce County, Fife, right? That's not too far from Fedway. So man, this Tacoma, this homeless advocacy group called Tacoma Housing Now, they checked in to the Travel Lodge Christmas Eve. One person checked in 16 rooms, and then they're like, man, we're not leaving. We're taking over the hotel. The next day, there was all kinds of signs out there. There's protesters out there in front of this hotel, the Travel Lodge in Fife. And they're basically like, yo, look, man, we're taking over the hotel, and we want either the city of Fife or Pierce County to pay the hotel bill. Now, you can imagine the hotel owner was like, yo, man, I didn't sign up for this. You guys paid for one night, and now you've got 40 people here in the hotel. Nobody's paying a bill. And because there's demonstrators, activists, protesters out in the parking lot, what he's saying is that nobody else wants to stay at the hotel. So now the hotel owner is losing business. And on top of that, though, the flip side is in Fife, their city manager has actually been on site. The city manager has been out there meeting with the homeless advocates and those who are homeless, and even the police department there as well. But it's private property, which is much different than Cal Anderson Park. The police department right now is saying that they don't want to have to take a physical action to evict people. They're working diligently, according to them, to find these people services to get them out of this hotel there in Fife.
You know what? This was a tough one because it's not that business owner's responsibility, right? And listening to his kind of decree for help there, where, you know, he's basically saying, look, I'm just a business owner here. You know, the Travelodge is my business. This, you know, this is really impeding upon my business. But I will say, from a protester side, right, and from a community member side, it gets to a point where what more can people do? People are like in that clip. I mean, I know we couldn't play it, but basically the advocates are saying for 4 years they've been talking about homelessness as a number one issue.
State of emergency.
Literally state of emergency. But what has been done? And for 4 years they've been waiting on answers. And so it does get to a place where people get tired. Oh, as you know, we've said it, tired of being sick and tired. And honestly, I understand a little bit of this measure to say we just need the city to pay attention to this. We need the county to pay attention to this. We need direct investment into this situation, because we're going to take matters into our own hands if we don't hear that. It's at least getting the city manager out there. I mean, I don't know. It's a tough call.
So I just started following this story last night. It appears to be that, like I said, the city manager there in Fife is being proactive. It looks like the statements that have been made by the police out there is like they would rather, instead of evict people, bring officers, the Pierce County Sheriff out there. They would rather try to get these people housed. The city of Tacoma, I think they said, I hope I didn't misread this, but they said it was like 2 shelter beds available. You know, there's at least 40 people who are there in the hotel. But I mean, I don't know. If somebody came here we don't rent the studio, but somebody came here to rent the studio and then was like, man, we're not leaving until whatever, this is this man's business. Here, this guy is a person of color too. He's just sitting up there trying to make it, and they've now, like I said, they've taken over the hotel, and he has 10 employees there who are essential workers if they're working there at a hotel and exposing themselves and everything else. And so what he's saying is like, man, he's gonna have to basically lay off the employees. But these guys, they got a hardline stance. They're like, man, the city needs to pay the hotel, or the county needs to pay the hotel.
Well, this is a tough one. I mean, we've seen this kind of activity in Count Anderson Park again. You're talking about those who are unsheltered. It is cold. It is getting colder. Those temperatures drop tremendously in the evening hours. And honestly, to hear from somebody who's in the room to say, look, now we have a warm place to sleep. He had a child there, it's like now they have a warm place to sleep, a place to shower, a place to wash their clothes. It is tough, but again, I what I will say is that at least the city is taking the right measures to say, look, we're not going to go in with brute police force. We're actually going to take into account that these people need services, and let's try to find them the services. Just what they were doing in Count Anderson.
It is a different kind of approach to actually see the police there on the ground trying to find people services, and the city manager there on the ground. And especially this is private property. It's a much different kind of situation. So we'll stay on top of this in Fife. Speaking of, when you mentioned Cal Anderson, well, the people over there at Community Roots, used to be Capitol Hill Housing, we got a letter from the Racial Equity Task Force at Community Roots Housing. So this isn't Community Roots, this is the Racial Equity Task Force. And basically what they're saying is, well, I'll just read this part real quick. On December 14th, business and property owners at Capitol Hill sent a letter to Mayor Durkin requesting immediate action to reopen Cal Anderson Park. Signatories to this letter included Community Roots Housing CEO Chris Parsons. This letter is in direct opposition to the equity values of Community Roots Housing and the mission of Community Roots Racial Equity Task Force, a staff-led group organized to drive racial equality initiatives. The Racial Equality Task Force denounces the tactics used to reopen Cal Anderson Park and condemns any use of law enforcement to forcibly remove community members from public space. We do not speak on behalf of the organization, but as a group of concerned employees that feel our organization and our task force values were misappropriated. Also says, there's people from Seattle Central who hopped on and sent a similar letter. So basically, the Racial Equity Task Force there at Community Roots Housing was like, yo, man, we ain't with the, we're not with Chris. And the official stance. It's a lot of people been getting blowback for signing that letter to Mayor Durkin. But
yeah, I mean, look, this is not just a sentiment of Seattle. We're seeing it in Fife. That was a connection of the story right there. There are people, advocates, as you see there in that letter, staff that are at this organization that say, hey, we don't actually agree with, the CEO saying that the organization agrees to those tactics. And, shout out for them. I mean, one thing I will say is people are using their voices, my friend. And, it makes me happy because at the end of the day, the diverse voices are what we need to actually bring about sustainable change. If everybody just stays quiet, if they just do the normal and just stay with the status quo, we're going to keep the status quo. I think it's going to take a little bit of this pressure to really bring about the change. So shout out to them for saying, it's not saying, hey, something, but we're not with that statement. Hey, normally, I mean, if you think about this a couple years ago, they just would have went with it maybe. Maybe they wouldn't have said anything because their CEO, spoke on behalf of the org. But they're letting the public know that there's some people that are there that actually sided with those advocates that have been in the park that really wanted some non-forcible measures to, change the situation in the park.
I think as well is there's probably quite a few people that work at Community Roots Housing that was getting a lot of shade put on them, and so they had to clap back with a letter. They're like, "Oh, word! You guys are the ones who signed the letter to the mayor." Either way, though, I mean, they've made their voice known. They were intentional in sending this over to Jordan yesterday, and so we thought that it was newsworthy considering what's been going on up there on the Hill. What do we got here next? We have Seattle home prices keep rising this fall at second fastest pace in the U.S. The Seattle area home prices in October shot up faster than any other city in the country except Phoenix. According to new data from the S&P CoreLogic Case-Shiller Home Price Index, October was the 9th consecutive month Seattle prices grew second fastest in the country. Seattle grew prices grew at 11.7% year over year, behind Phoenix at 12.7%. So people keep trying to tell us that Seattle is dying. Maybe there's like 12 blocks of downtown or something, but clearly the rest of Seattle's balling out of control.
Yeah, and let's just say that we know that Seattle is full of tech jobs. Those tech jobs are still there. I mean, a lot of folks have the privilege of working at home where they're in higher levels of tech. So honestly, I'm not surprised by these numbers. We're actually feeling it. If you're looking for a house right now, you're feeling that pressure for sure.
All right. Moving over to Eastern Washington, a story out of Okanagan County. This come out of the YakimaHerald.com. Farm company fined $2 million after 2 workers died of coronavirus. The Washington State Department of Labor and Industry has slammed Gebber's Farm operations with a more than $2.038 million fine over the deaths of 2 workers from COVID-19. It says the fine is the second largest ever levered by that agency. L&I officials say fines largely result from 24 repeated and willful violation of state rules established earlier this year to help protect agricultural workers from the spread of COVID-19. And basically, let me find it right here. They're saying that Gebber's made it very apparent in the investigations they had no intention of following the rules as written. And Gebber's Farm is right there. It's in Okanagan County over there in Eastern Washington. I'm always talking about it over in Okanagan. But man, imagine. And so what it is if you remember some months ago, Yakima had the biggest spike in the whole state. And that was because you had all these farm workers who were out there. There was no PPE. There was no safety measures, no social distancing and everything else. And the state moved in quickly. That was the first county to actually have a mass mandate, was over there in Yakima County. And apparently this grower here in Okanagan County, this grower here, just threw caution to the wind. 2 people have died in this article here. They talk about everybody's over there coughing, they're sick, whatever. $2 million fine. That also means for all you people who are intentional out there, you might want to look and see where your fruits and vegetables are coming from and the conditions of the farm and where they're grown.
Yeah, because once again, it's still about the consumption, right? I mean, it's supply and demand. And if you do not have that demand, your supply will dry up. I mean, nobody will be coming to Gebhardt's Farm or be trying to buy anything out of that farm. I do want to say that this is another almost great win for the public. You cannot just do what you want to do as a business owner and think, you know what, we still got a business to run. We got a business to run. We're not going to, comply. That compliance is serious, man, at the end of the day. And that's almost $2 million worth of fines. Definitely shows that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. $2 million fine the state brought the hammer. And I think that they're also sending a signal out there to other farm operators that they're going to have to treat their workers there with definitely some dignity and safety, huh?
Yeah. And again, this is where we talk about the treatment of certain sectors of workers. Migrant workers have almost always needed advocacy around this. When we're talking about, families that are migrant workers, it becomes a generational legacy almost. And so honestly, I do think that this is a great measure for the state to say, look, we're not playing no games, and also to put other farmers on notice, other operators on notice.
All you guys that go to these stores that specialize on their from farm to market need to be asking them, where's their stuff coming from? What are the conditions of the workers? The funny thing is, a lot of people are worried about the condition of, like, man, was their fertilizer used? Is it this and that? And probably have no regard of what conditions the actual farmers are working under. So this is a good opportunity. You shop at these places, these Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, ask them what's the conditions of the farm workers where they're sourcing this fresh produce. Moving on to a great story here, also in the Seattle Times, coming from west of us over in Kitsap County, long overdue but welcome recognition from a Bremerton hero. So let me tell you here, there's a story of John Henry Turpin, U.S. Navy trailblazer. John Henry Dick Turpin received some long overdue recognition last week for his service and heroism nearly 60 years after his death. The renaming of the Bremerton Post Office building is a culmination of decades-long effort to memorialize the exploits and achievements of this longtime city resident who saved the lives of 3 officers and 12 sailors in the 1905 explosion aboard the USS Bennington. 11 men received medals of honor for their bravery in that incident, which remains one of the Navy's worst peacetime disasters. But despite his heroic actions saving men's lives by swimming them one by one to safety, Turpin, who was Black, did not. Turpin enlisted in a segregated Navy in 1896, rose to the ranks to become one of the first Black Americans to achieve the rank of Chief Petty Officer. His 30-year Navy career spanned the Spanish-American War, the Boxer Rebellion, and World War I. After retiring from the Navy in 1925, he worked as a master rigger in the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard. Although those who are familiar with his service have been lobbying for Turpin to receive the Medal of Honor before his death, he died in 1962 without any official recognition of his accomplishments. They didn't even have a headstone for him at the cemetery. That's since changed, and thanks to the consistent efforts of local historians, which are also so important, the John Henry Turpin Post Office building will help ensure Turpin's name and achievements are not lost to the ages. It says here, this is an honor too long delayed and richly deserved.
Wow. I mean, oh man, that story just brought me a lot of different, thoughts, to be honest. I mean, because again, I wonder about his family, the legacy of his family, and if they're able to, receive this honor. When somebody is honored after their death, it almost always feels like too little, too late, because how do we really honor them if they're gone? But this is again another showcasing of how it takes that kind of pressure to bring anything about. This story would have gone unrecognized. We wouldn't have never known his name had there not been anybody really advocating for him.
These historians pushing over
Absolutely.
There. So you can read more about that in today's Seattle Times. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, guess what? So one of the utility boxes in the Central District, they painted Mr. Fitzgerald Beaver, founder of the Facts newspaper, on there. And man, you know, I got a special place in my heart for the Beaver family and for the Facts newspaper. So we're going to take a short break and we're going to come back and talk about that. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
My parents coming over here as refugees meant that they didn't really have anything when they came to America. Having reliable healthcare and having a reliable doctor was really important. Cộng đồng của tôi, trạm y tế của tôi.
我的社区，我的诊所。Mi comunidad, mi clínica.
بلشدة هي بقارها.
My community, my clinic.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, the Big O. Want to take a moment here, first of all, to say thank you for your support of Converge Media. We definitely wouldn't be here without you. Secondly, I want to thank everybody who is a supporter of Converge Media on Patreon. We definitely appreciate your support. And for those of you who might not know, I'll let you know, we operate 100% off of donations. Some donations big, most donations small, but we love all donations all the same. If you haven't done so yet, I want to encourage you to go on our website to whereweconverge.com/donate and subscribe. You click on the Patreon link and you can subscribe for as little as $5 a month. There's higher tiers beyond that as well. And just know that your subscription literally keeps us on the air. Once again, I want to thank you for all your support. All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury. I'm joined by my co-host
Trey Holiday. Hey, y'all.
So Trey, you know, we grew up with the facts.
Oh yeah.
We grew up with the facts, and so we're getting ready to talk about the Facts newspaper. And so for you guys that are there, you're online somewhere, but nwfacts.com is the Facts website. And man, I saw this on the Facts the last night. I saw this. Let me put it up here. Man, for I shall not pass this way again, remembering Fitzgerald Beaver. I mean, when you talk about a giant, like a giant, and we don't talk about it here, Mr. Beaver, right? 1961. And next year it'll be 60 years. So hopefully we got to do something with the Facts, totally uplift them. But man, Mr. Fitzgerald Beaver started the Facts newspaper, right? And the Facts newspaper is an anchor in the Black community. Like, you know, you had to find it in the Facts.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that we have such a legacy newspaper in our community. I know that my grandmama, even all the way out in Federal Way, she knows I work in Seattle, and she'd be like, baby, go by that corner store, pick me up a Facts on your way home. It is still a staple in our communities. It doesn't matter if we become displaced from the Central District or not. Everybody knows that when any of our family members go, where do the obituaries go first? The Facts. I mean, everybody knows that. It is a place that my grandmother, my mother, my father, it is really a legacy when I think about how I've always picked up the Facts as a young child and do it even now in my adulthood.
And people now, they have apps and websites and all this other stuff to find Black businesses, Black restaurants, whatever. The Fact has been consistent for almost 60 years. So, you know, it's the place to go where what's happening as far as, you know, also entertainment and businesses and some everything else. Let me put this back up here real quick. This is came there from, just want to read a few things. And this is something that Mr. Beaver used to say all the time. I shall not pass this way but once. Therefore, any good that I can do or any kindness that I can show, let me do it now, for I shall not pass this way again. And, you know, it goes on here. You got to go to the Northwest Facts. If you're not hip to the Facts, you know, definitely go to the website, to the Northwest Facts. So let me kind of jump into this. people might not realize, you talk about like a Converge here today and people are getting their news and their information, everything else, which is dope. We literally stand on the shoulders of Fitzgerald, Beaver, and the Facts newspaper. Because, I'll take you back. Let's go hop in the time machine. 1963. Marchers prepared demonstration in shadow of civil disobedience threats. This is 1963. You see what I'm saying? So it's cool. Like we out there today, we streaming. You know what I'm saying? We're like, oh yeah, we Converge, we streaming. But man, let's not forget who was out there first. It was Fitzgerald, Beaver, and the Facts who was out there, delivering the news to the community. Let's go to 1966. Seattle Civil Rights Group feel boycott only way left to end segregation. You see what I'm saying? Like it's like the Facts archive is like nuts. BHS, the Black Heritage Society, has a lot of stuff. But I mean, there's so much of a documentation of our history, at least the last 60 years in the Central District in Seattle.
You know what? I mean, man, chills with those headlines, because you're absolutely right. I mean, the stories within our community, Mr. Beaver knew they had to be told from the community perspective. And that when you're connected on the ground, you have a very different angle and perspective in your story while keeping it, in this, journalistic way, but really telling the stories of those activities, those groups, those entrepreneurs, those amazing, brilliant folks from our community doing great things. And really the Facts has always been that kind of voice of community.
Right. And so now this box right here, let me read it. This is, let's see. It was painted by Desmond Hansen. It's on 2765 East Cherry Street. And it's a graffiti and community mutual aid, mutual artist, Desmond Hansen. And this article right here, this write-up right here goes on to talk about the pride that the Beaver family has. Marla keeping it pushing. Dennis, all these guys, this Beaver family. And Mr. Beaver was just a solid dude. All these people who are in Black media in Seattle, and some that are still in business and others that have closed their doors, man, he started with Mr. Beaver. Mr. Beaver took everybody in over there, at the Facts. And I often talk about how my dad, my mom, they opened Salisbury Photography decades ago. Well, they did that with the help of Mr. Fitzgerald Beaver. And that's when I tell you that we're literally standing on the shoulders of that giant Mr. Beaver and the Facts newspaper.
It's a beautiful, beautiful legacy, and honestly showcases that relational connection that is so steeped in community. For your father to have that connection in terms of opening like the first Black-owned photography studio with the help of Mr. Beaver, that's the kind of stories that really need to pass down from generation to generation to understand that legacy and the connection of that. It is so deep. That's beautiful.
And if people want to talk about, of course, digital and everything has changed the print newspaper business for everybody. But at its height, the circulation for the Facts newspaper was 80,000 per week.
Wow.
80,000. Imagine that.
See, and this is why, the continuation of the legacy is so important, because again, even as you talk about mediums changing, it going digital, people getting their news from other places, I will say this right here: the Facts is alive and well. Everybody knows if you go to these corner stores throughout the CD, if you're going to certain spots, you're going to see that stack of faxes. You're going to be able to get that news still in paper format.
And you know what? And this is where we got to take our hats off to the Facts, because you can still get a Facts newspaper in the Central District, and they're delivering that paper where their population is. And before, just delivering a CD and maybe the South Bend. You can find the Facts in Kent. You can find the Facts in Federal Way. Find the Facts in Covington. You find the Facts all over. And then the online, they're really killing it as well. And that's why I really encourage people, to go to the Facts website, show them some love. I know a lot of our viewers are always trying to figure out what's going on in the Black community, and that's definitely a great voice right there. I got a few more pictures here. This is Mr. Beaver back in the day. Remember the office was right there on MLK and Cherry.
Yeah.
On MLK and Cherry. And the historians came through. This came over this morning from SJT,
Yes.
Stephanie Johnson Tolliver from the Black Heritage Society of Washington State. It says, I'm seeing that you'll be paying tribute to Mr. Beaver today. At BHS, we hold the D. Charlene Williams Legacy Collection donated by her daughter, Rita Green. Here is a copy that Fitzgerald Beaver autographed to D. Charlene when they were both making early history in the Central District.
That gives me chills, man. That's what I'm talking about. There's so many gems when we think about the history and the legacies that have been built within the Central District and beyond. Just Black brilliance pouring into Washington State. And I love that we're able to cover that because a lot of this stuff are really things that people don't know. And I will say too, on the back of the project that we're really highlighting here, where his picture is on that box outside, there is, you guys could go throughout the CD and see all of these folks.
William Gross.
Yeah, William Gross. We also got Douglas Barnett is up there. I mean, really just if you're wanting to learn more about the people that have really shaped and formed the Central District, you can actually learn a lot of history just by looking at the artwork on these boxes and then following up to understand who these people were. A beautiful project by all of these artists from the community doing this work. It's really beautiful to see our legacies kind of spread out on these boxes that were just plain. You know, they didn't look pretty before. Now we got beautiful history there.
Yeah, that's crazy. Just looking at some of these headlines. So, you know, one thing I was talking to both my mom and my dad, and one thing for sure that I'm really proud of here at Converge is we're definitely unashamedly, you know, we're like, man, we're Black media. I think that our content serves different communities, but we're Black media. And the best thing is what we've been able to do here is, man, we've been able to grow not by tearing down our giants, but by standing on their shoulders. You know what I'm saying? And you've never heard, and we're all in competition. You know what I'm saying? Like we're all competitors for sure. You know, we all want viewers, we want clicks, we want people to read our content or view everything else. But I'm so proud that, man, we're standing on the shoulders of these giants as opposed to trying to tear down our giants to get a competitive edge or something like that. We uplift these guys.
Absolutely. And that's the way to do it. As Dr. Mims always says every month, look, we've been paid for. They have paid the way, and now it is our turn to stand on those legacies and to continue them. And this is why the work of what we do here in community is so important, because we understand this rich history and this rich legacy. We're not coming in with new ideas. A lot of the times they've already been created. We are extending them, where we are bringing something new to them, right? By digitization, live streaming, right? We're bringing these new things in, but we're always going to be connected. It's that Sankofa, man, looking back to know how to move forward.
Exactly, man. So I was thinking, I was like, well, you know, this is just something in the morning show. We'll talk about this right here. But I was thinking, we've been trying to get this kind of Black history, like our history, our icons, this video type of project. I've been talking to Stephanie Johnson Tolliver at Black Heritage Society of Washington State. I think this is the catalyst that I really needed, man. I mean, you Mr. Beaver's name has so much reverence in the Salisbury household. You know, man, love the facts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I love those guys. We're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we got Nikki Barron with the coronavirus update. And then in the last segment of the show, we're talking about Dr. Charles Drew. Let's see who knows about Dr. Drew. You're watching the Morning Update Show. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your man, the Big O. Want to take a moment here, first of all, to say thank you for your support of Converge Media. We definitely wouldn't be here without you. Secondly, I want to thank everybody who is a supporter of Converge Media on Patreon. We definitely appreciate your support. And for those of you might not know, I'll let you know, we operate 100% off of donations. Some donations big, most donations small, but we love all donations all the same. If you haven't done so yet, I want to encourage you to go on our website to whereweconverge.com/donate and subscribe. You click on the Patreon link and you can subscribe for as little as $5 a month. There's higher tiers beyond that as well. And just know that your subscription literally keeps us on the air. Once again, I want to thank you for all your support. All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. Oh yeah, please bring in producer Nikki Barron.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, what's up, Nikki? How are you?
I'm good. Just having some coffee, enjoying the show.
All right, good stuff. And it was actually Nikki who sent me the link last night that she saw on the Facts. She was on the Facts website and she sent that to me.
I read that.
Awesome.
They have it at the Skyway Grocery Outlet. So every time there's a new one, I pick it up.
Yeah.
Man, that's all right. So unfortunately, you're usually the bearer of bad news. What's the coronavirus update for today?
Yeah, so let's just jump right into the numbers here. So case counts, confirmed cases have risen to 229,672. Our hospitalizations rose up to 14,276, and deaths in Washington are at 3,195. And hospital readiness hasn't changed since yesterday, but that number, oh wait, no, it did. Okay. Woo! They updated it looks like at midnight. So good news here. Our goal is to keep our hospital beds under 80% capacity filled, and we are down to 75.9. And yesterday it was 82 from the weekend. So it's good to see that number is changing. I also found a new tool after speaking with one of our experts last night on the coronavirus update show, and they actually broke it out by King County specifically, as well as different cities. So I can actually now, just give me a city. I have the number now. You always call on me and tell me like, oh, I wonder how we're doing compared to this city or that city. Like, I got the number now. So you just call out a city.
I got one. We got to call out Atlanta, man. What was Atlanta looking like compared to us? I got to know.
All right, Atlanta. Well, this was the King County numbers, but I can give you Atlanta.
Put in Federal Way.
Oh yeah, put in Federal Way.
All right, Federal Way. Let's see what we got. So Federal Way, hospitalizations, their total was 4,066 and 26 new since yesterday, and 513 new positive.
Share your screen?
Yeah, I can do that. Sharing the screen. Okay, let's go here. Find my little tab.
You know how to run all this stuff.
Yeah, of course.
All right, can you see that okay?
Wow.
Yeah, so let's look at all King County. Let's go down to Federal Way here. Give us a reload. So Federal Way, all right. So positive cases, total count for Federal Way, 4,636. 10 new since yesterday. It was giving me the King County number before. Hospitalizations, we had one new hospitalization in Federal Way. since yesterday. So yeah, it's really interesting. This tool allows you to look at demographics around COVID when it comes to King County by city, by demographics, and then also giving you trends over time. So this is a really interesting tool that I didn't know that we had. I thought we just had the statewide numbers, but we actually have these ones.
Awesome. I have one more question for you because it burns in my head. When we talk about the hospital readiness, that number tends to change. We've seen it kind of jump. That was a pretty drastic jump because I think yesterday was like 82 and then you said it's like 75. What really causes that change? Do you know what causes that?
Yeah, so it's how many people are in the intensive care unit. So if people get downgraded from the intensive care unit and they get put into regular beds, or they're no longer needing hospital care and they get sent home, or if people pass away, that number comes down as well. So it's the kind of the ebb and flow of the hospitalizations for COVID, because it takes 6 people on average for each COVID patient. So which normally one nurse might have, 6 patients or something, but with the way that COVID being so severe and the treatment being so intensive and hands-on, it actually takes 6 people on average for every sick patient with COVID. That's why it's really important to keep that number down, because it's not just people laying in beds, it's rotating them every hour. It's a lot of care that goes into caring for these patients.
6 people.
Wow.
I didn't know that. All right, Nikki, before we let you go, what we got going on Wednesday, tomorrow night, 6:15 for coronavirus update show?
Yeah, so actually tomorrow's episode's going to be really good. We're actually speaking with a woman named Daphne, and she is going to give us the details on all things resources during the pandemic. So where we can get food assistance, utility assistance, rent assistance, all the programs that King County Public Health has a hand in when it comes to helping us be able to stay home and stay healthy, and get assistance, so we're not falling too far behind when it comes to our finances. So it's going to be a really good episode tomorrow night, 6:15, wherever you're watching right now.
All right. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
These coronavirus updates, we've been talking to a lot of doctors. We talked to an epidemiologist last night from Seattle King County Public Health. But speaking of doctors, and we've been talking about Black people and vaccines and doctors and this and that. And I came across something, it was on CBS this morning. It was originally aired back in May. And it talked about Dr. Charles Drew. And so a lot of people, we kind of grew up kind of immersed in Black history. So these are people you just knew about, and the pioneering career that he had. I think that it's important that we will show our viewers that on a national and international scale, the important role that Dr. Charles Drew played way back when is still impacting America right now.
Of course, moving blood from donors to patients is the foundation of the blood bank system that saves lives on a daily basis in this country. And its creation is most credited to one man, inspired to act after the devastating pandemic that struck in his own time. The American Red Cross is on the front line in the fight against COVID-19, using plasma as a lifeline, says Executive Medical Director Dr. Yvette Miller.
Even in the first pandemic in 1918, the physicians and the medical people understood that if you take blood from somebody who has recovered, there has to be something in their blood that we can give to somebody else to help them recover.
The key to extending the life of that blood was discovered by one of Dr. Miller's heroes, the very first medical director of the Red Cross.
What led my father to go into medicine was the fact that his sister, Elsie, died in the 1918 flu.
And that loss, says Charleena Drew Jarvis, is what motivated the research of Dr. Charles Drew, the man who became the father of the nation's blood banking system.
What he did was to discover how to store and preserve both whole red blood and plasma, that the plasma could be dried and then it could be reconstituted.
In other words, separating that liquid yellow plasma from blood's oxygen-carrying red cells greatly improved the shelf life of both, from 1 week to nearly 2 months, making person-to-person transfusions almost obsolete.
That was critically important because we were in the middle of the war and because we had soldiers who were dying abroad. They needed to have whole red blood, which of course could not be provided on the battlefield. Plasma was what was used.
That war provided the demand.
When World War II started in 1939, there was a request from Britain, could we assist in providing plasma?
The American Red Cross then called on the expert, Dr. Drew, to initiate the Blood for Britain campaign, becoming its first medical director of blood services.
Thousands of British lives were saved because of Drew and his revolutionary method.
But in 1942, Drew left his post, disputing another form of blood division, the Army and Navy's decision to segregate blood banks by race.
He actually resigned in protest because he said there's no scientific basis on which to segregate blood, only separate blood according to blood type.
Ernie Jarvis, Dr. Drew's grandson, is proud he stood by his principles, returning to Howard University to teach and serve.
I think if you were to ask Dr. Drew what his greatest contribution was, it was to teach a generation of African-American physicians and surgeons.
One of them was my father, Dr. Ross Miller.
This is a tribute to Dr. Charles Drew, and there's a picture right here. You see the gentleman to his right, behind his right shoulder. I believe that man is my father.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, my father had confidence in your father's ability to change the world.
Dr. Drew died in a car accident when Jarvis was 8 years old. But this daughter, a brain scientist herself, says his commitment to being the best lives on.
He held us all to a very high standard of excellence. What we understood from him is that we could achieve, we should achieve, and we would achieve.
What is his impact on modern medicine?
His impact on modern medicine is almost immeasurable. It's monumental. And that process of separating red blood cells from plasma is what we are still using right now in this moment to support patients who are trying to recover.
And he educated and motivated 2 generations worth of Black physicians in this country. So many people now say, you know, we need more of his kind of go get it and excellence in the process of motivating everyone in the field of medicine, because we have so much hitting us.
You know, Trey, these stories are important, and I'll continue to dig in the crates because actually we come from a legacy of people like Charles Drew and great minds in the medical field and pioneers and innovators.
Absolutely. And it's a great place to showcase all of that brilliance and to always be reminded and to educate our audience on it as well as ourselves.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some people out there watching today. I had no idea who Dr. Charles Drew was. And, you know, his innovations, as you heard there in the clip, still same process used today. Any final words before we get out of here today?
You know what? Make it a great day. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to make it a great day. I hope everybody out there does as well.
All right. So, yeah, we're out of here tomorrow night, 6:15, coronavirus update show. And we have the morning update show tomorrow at 11. And like I said, if you haven't had a chance, go check out the facts, nwfacts.com. Until tomorrow at 11 a.m. Peace.
Lift every voice and sing till earth in heaven ring with the harmonies.
rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.